Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Wilmot speaking from Wizard Systems. Thanks for joining me today for GoldMine 101, our regular series of short GoldMine presentations focusing on different topics. And this morning I'm going to go through the automated process feature of GoldMine, how you get GoldMine to do things automatically for you. Now, this presentation will be approximately a quarter of an hour or so. So it's just an overview of this feature. I'm just going to really say to you what are automated processes and how can they be used. It's quite a sophisticated topic area, and my company Wizard Systems offer many extensive training options on automated processes. For example, we do a very popular one-day training course at our base on the complete feature set of automated processes, should you want to consider that. Now, on the call today, we've got people using all sorts of different versions of GoldMine. I'll be showing you the latest version, but pretty much automated process has been in GoldMine for the last 15, 20 years. Most of what I mentioned to you will be relevant to all versions of GoldMine. Now, the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and I'll do my best to answer those at the end. And it's probably best to type them in as soon as you think of them rather than waiting right at the very end of the session. Also, towards the end, I'll be giving an update on any GoldMine product news as well. Now, this session is being recorded. After the presentation, you'll get an email from us or from our system with a link to recording, which you can play back at your leisure, and we'll most likely pop it up on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so let's get started. As I normally do, just a brief mention about my company, Wizard Systems. We're GoldMine and CRM specialists. All we do is CRM. We've been doing this a long time now, implemented well over 3,000 systems all over the UK and further afield. We also support a wide range of GoldMine add-ons, recognizing that GoldMine can't do everything. There's a library of well-known, highly respected GoldMine add-ons that we supply and support. Plus, we provide lots of services around GoldMine: installation, upgrades, maintenance, training, any sort of training on any topic at any level that you require, either at your premises, or you can come to our training centre near Bristol, or we can do it online. And finally, ongoing support as well. Okay, so let me take you into an overview then of the automated process feature in GoldMine. Now, automated processes, do you want a business that works 24/7? GoldMine can automate workflow processes. Imagine like a flow diagram, a sequence of actions that will happen automatically. And so these automated processes will perform a sequence of actions on your contact records. It's focused on your contact records automatically at any time. Automated process could perform any tedious, repetitive tasks required in a medium or longer term sales cycle. And using automated processes, you can set up GoldMine to perform administrative and tracking duties such as managing leads, generating emails automatically, or validating data to make sure it's correct. So why use automated processes? Well, automated processes allow you to set up these series of software agents or predefined actions to be performed on all contacts or a group of contacts via a filter or group in the database. For example, using automated processes, each new record, when you get a new lead entered into the contact database, could be assigned automatically to receive an email that introduces this new contact to your company and informs them that a salesperson will call them shortly. After sending the email, the automated process can automatically schedule a follow-up call, such as a callback, on the calendar of the specified GoldMine user. And you may normally, in your GoldMine system, you may normally assign contacts or leads to a salesperson. So salesperson Keith would automatically get a follow-up phone call X number of days after the initial email goes out. So, I mean, that's just a basic example. I will cover other examples later on. But it's going to save you time, and it's going to ensure that the right task is done by the right person at the right time. Also, performing administrative tasks. Using automated processes, you can create an automated pipeline through which prospects can be assigned to receive a series of emails, written communications, letters, testimonials. Automated process could also monitor prospect records, checking for regular activities. Maybe you want to ensure that contacts are maintained, that you have some sort of communications going out with contacts every, say, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Automated process can do that and check for those regular activities and indicate the need for a salesperson to make a follow-up call if needed. And automated process can automatically schedule a call to appear on a GoldMine specified calendar any number of days, or given any form of trigger after some initial information might have been sent to them. So I'd like to now take you through where you see automated processes. So as an administrator, and being one of the more advanced features of GoldMine, this is typically set up by someone that knows a lot about GoldMine and knows a lot about your processes, not by ordinary users, shall I say, in inverted commas. So to access automated processes, it's off your tools menu, and here we are, automated processes. And basically three parts to this. Manage processes is where you set the things up. Assign process, so once you've created the process, the sequence of things that will happen, it has to be attached to one or many records in your GoldMine database. And lastly, we have to think about how are we going to scan the system? How will we get GoldMine every day or every hour or twice a day to go through the whole system, go through the whole database and look for things to do? That's all about the execution. So manage process, I'll just give you an overview of the components, the construction of an automated process. And this is the automated process center in GoldMine, where you'll see all of your existing processes. Top of the center window here, we've got the username, because these processes could be stored under or accessed under a different username. This is the general public area here, where all general automated processes might be visible. And so on the left-hand side here, we've got a visual tree-like structure of all these different processes. And here is an example process, a customer welcome process. So every process consists of a number of tracks or events. So these are all, these little lines here, all tracks or events. And every track or event has a trigger condition and an action. So the trigger condition, if met, the action will take place. But it's basically like a sequence of instructions, like a little miniature computer program with numbers down the side here, so one of these events happening after the other, right through to the end. So this being a customer welcome process, we've got a few events here. Basically, these events are of two types. They're either preemptive or sequential. Now, preemptive events in a process, they're always going to be checking every day for something to do, to check for the validity of this particular process. And then a sequential event, these will happen one after the other. Once they've happened, they won't happen again. So in this example of customer welcome, we've got some checking preemptive events. Is the address valid? Have we got all the correct details of this contact before we go further in this process? Assuming everything's correct, it hits the first sequential event to check again for a valid address, and then in sequence send out a number of different emails. It could be letters, it could be phone calls, it could be any action that you want. But first email number one is sending out a welcome new customer email. Then we've got a feedback status email going out. You can see on the right hand side a little bit more of a detail behind each of these events, but that's going to happen 30 days after the initial welcome new email. So that's going to happen immediately. Then 30 days later, the feedback status email will go out. 30 days after that, we send out a request for referral via email. 5 days after that, we get a salesperson to call them. Now, if I just double click on this event, I can show you a little bit more detail, the elements that build up each of these tracks or events. So we've got here a simple little wizard that would take us through the construction or amendment of this event. So we've got a description, we've got the event type, sequential or preemptive, and the sequence number. If I click next, trigger on. So this is what GoldMine is looking for. In this example, 5 days after the previous thing that happened, which was the referral request, 5 days later, something else is going to happen automatically. But there's loads of different options that you've got here to trigger actions on. It could be immediate, it could be based on a history activity. So something has been recorded in history, a phone call, a sale has been made, some kind of action has happened, and then something else will take place. Or maybe we've got some kind of pending activity. So for example, 30 days before a pending activity is due, we want something to happen. And there's a few other more advanced options there. So those are the triggers. And if I click next here, we'll go through to the action. What's going to happen when that trigger condition is met? What action is going to take place? And again, from my little drop down list there, we've got loads of different options. So we could print a letter, send an email, print off a report, schedule an activity or a task or a phone call for somebody, create a history, create a detail record, add them to a group of contacts for some other purpose, update a database field with some value, which again then may trigger some other activity. Remove the process. Maybe this process is no longer valid, so we'll remove it from the contact record. Nothing more will happen against this contact record. Or add a new process. We can branch off into a completely different sequence of events there. Branching to event, branching to a different sequence in the process. Run an application. It could be running an external application or creating a support case. So lots of different options there on the different actions. So you define your process. They are then attached to the process, and you can see against a contact record here along the tab bar there's a tab called Processes. You can turn off this tab, display off or on from your preferences there, but the Processes tab will display for this contact the one or many processes this contact could be on, of course more than one process, and within each process what was the last event that triggered and what's the next event due and the trigger condition for that. So in 2 days time it's going to be doing this checking for a valid address. Now these processes are running or can be run 24/7 in GoldMine. There's various ways of running this. For example, server agents is one way, or you could manually scan the system if you want to. And there are some examples where users could attach an automated process to a contact record. They can attach some kind of sequence of events they want to happen automatically against a contact, and it would trigger automatically. It won't need to have the system administrator run that system for you. So there's an example of automated process. If I just pop back in here, give you some other examples. Here we are, maintenance renewal. So in your company, do you have support contracts that need to be maintained in GoldMine? So here we're checking for the anniversary of a support contract and maybe some kind of renewal process. Maybe you've got your customers classified into different types and you want to make sure that, in this example, if we've got a gold customer, we want to make sure that they're contacted every 30 days. Maybe you've got prospects on a long-term sales cycle, so you want to have some kind of process to keeping them on the go, make sure there's some kind of regular activity with these long-term prospects. So we could have a sequence of letters and emails going out to those prospects. One further down here, lost sale. May not be the end of the story if we lose a sale, but maybe we still want to keep in touch with that contact. So we might send a letter or send an email to that contact just to make sure there's no buyer's remorse there. We're still in regular contact with those lost sales. So just a few examples there of other processes. Anything that your business goes through of a repetitive nature that could be adapted to GoldMine Automated Processes. It's going to save you time. It's going to improve your productivity and make sure that nothing slips through the net there. Okay, so I'd now like to just really just summarize what we've been through, and also just to give you a few precautions. This is a very advanced feature of GoldMine, and you need to get familiar with the terminology and all of the options, the process, the triggers, the actions that might take place. You've got to be fairly familiar with GoldMine, and you've got to be, as I say, familiar with the process. And indeed, not all processes could be turned into automated processes. Not all processes in your business would be suitable or could be converted into an automated process. So that's the first thing to consider. Don't waste your time in thinking that certain things or that all things in your business could be automated totally. That may not be the case. Thirdly, make sure that you've got some backups done, because with automated processes, once it's updated a field or scheduled an activity, it won't incidentally delete records. That's one thing that it won't do, but it could flag a record for later deletion. But once it's updated the database, you can't edit undo. So you've got to make sure, whilst you may be a little bit unfamiliar with the automated process feature, you're taking regular backups. And then when you create your automated process, test it and test it again. Make sure, maybe set up a sample test record, which is what we typically do, and apply these new automated processes to it, and just put it through its paces to make sure that the right actions are being triggered at the right time. And lastly, please consult us. We've got lots of experience with automated processes. We've implemented many different automated processes across our different customer sites. We do a very popular one-day training course on automated processes, or we could set up the automated process for you if you don't have time, you don't have the inclination to do that. If we understand fully what you want the feature to do, we could do the whole thing for you if you require. Okay, so it's now time for answering any of your questions, please. If you locate your questions section on your meeting control panel, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. So first question from Matty: how do you stop a process doing something multiple times when you only want to do it once? Can you give me an example, Matty? Okay, right, a customer email. So that's the whole idea behind those preemptive events. Those preemptive events in a process will be checking everything before the sequential events kick into action. So your sequential event would be to send out the email. You only want this email to go out only once to that customer. So those preemptive events will be checking, for example, in history, to see if this email has gone out before. And if it has gone out, you'd have a preemptive event to remove the process. So a fairly straightforward thing there, I think, Matty, to put a preemptive event in place to make sure that you don't double up on this activity. Hopefully that answers your question there. Next question from Rick: can it trigger emails to Constant Contact? So Constant Contact is an email marketing platform that we integrate with GoldMine. No, it wouldn't, Rick, but what it could do is that it could update a field. So something happens to a customer record and the automated process would update the value of a field from value A to value B. That could be doing your search on value B, could be a way of gathering together all of these potential recipients to an email that you might shove through Constant Contact. So a little bit of a workaround there, Rick. Right, I don't think there's any more questions coming through. So just to round up our presentation this morning, we do have a marketing course on the 27th of July. We are hoping to run soon thereafter a one-day automated process training course where we can go through from start to finish the automated process feature, go through some examples of automated processes, sales processes, following up new leads, marketing processes, managing contracts and so on. So stay tuned for that. And also we're happy to announce that the second hotfix, the version 2016.1, was released last week. You'll see a lot more news up on our GoldMine blog. Please subscribe to our GoldMine blog. If you do that, you'll get regular communications back via email. So this is an email, a similar format email that you might receive once you subscribe to our blog. You'll be regularly kept up to date with GoldMine hints and tips and GoldMine news. And please, any suggestions for future topics, please email them to me. My name is Tim Wilmot and the email address is tim@wizard-systems.com. But if any late questions come through, I will answer those separately via email. But thanks very much for your time this morning. Hopefully that's been a good introduction into the automated process feature. What is it? How might you use it? And just a little bit of a flavor for some of the terminology that we use when we create them and run them. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time today, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. There may not be a GoldMine 101 session next Tuesday. It's most likely to be in 2 weeks' time, so hopefully catch up with you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.